Chlorosulfonic acid, or CSA, is needed to manufacture many products that enhance our quality of life. Things like shampoo and other detergents, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, pigments and dyes, and textiles. Handling this powerful chemical is a big responsibility and requires a great deal of training, skill, and above all, a commitment to safety. When the right safety practices are not followed, exposure to CSA can result in serious injury, environmental damage, and even death. Fortunately, most incidents involving CSA can be avoided. Nexpera and its predecessor companies have been producing quality CSA for more than 100 years. They have a long and impressive safety record and know how to handle it properly. With the right training and the focus on exposure prevention, you and your colleagues can stay safe when working with CSA. This program will show you how to safely work around chlorosulfonic acid. You'll learn to identify its properties and hazards. You'll understand the importance of wearing the right personal protective equipment. You'll identify ways to prevent incidents and be able to list the actions you need to take if there is an emergency involving an exposure or spill. Finally, you'll be able to recognize safety procedures for handling, storing, and unloading CSA. Nexpera produces chlorosulfonic acid by reacting top-grade hydrogen chloride with pure sulfur trioxide. During the manufacturing process, rigorous controls, procedures, and quality control monitoring systems maintain a consistently superior product. CSA is available in tank cars, tank trucks, isotainers, and portable tanks depending on each customer's needs. Though CSA is useful, it can be harmful if safety practices are not followed during handling. It's important to know about the unique characteristics and potential hazards before you work with this volatile chemical. CSA is a clear, straw-colored liquid weighing almost twice as much as water with a pungent odor that is sharp and penetrating. CSA gives off visible fumes and, when exposed to the air, forms sulfuric acid mist and hydrochloric acid fumes. The sharp, penetrating odor makes CSA fumes difficult to inhale. Those exposed will experience choking and coughing. These fumes can cause irritation and even serious injury to the nose, throat, and lungs. If you are unprotected and can't escape the fumes, you could die. Even a small liquid spill can result in a significant fume release. CSA reacts violently with water, creating intense heat and giving off large quantities of acid mist and HCl fumes. It will also react violently with concentrated alkali. CSA reacts with cyanides and sulfides to generate poisonous hydrogen cyanide and sulfide gases. When it encounters carbonates such as soda ash, it releases carbon dioxide, which can cause suffocation. When diluted with water, CSA forms non-fuming concentrations of hydrochloric and sulfuric acids. These are corrosive to many metals, giving off hydrogen gas, which can accumulate to form explosive mixtures. Even though CSA doesn't burn by itself, the hydrogen it releases is dangerous. Sparks or open flames around CSA storage tanks or any metal equipment could ignite the hydrogen and cause fires or explosions. CSA is very reactive and can even cause fires when it comes into contact with certain combustible materials. It also absorbs moisture while giving off heat. If CSA touches an unprotected body, it can cause immediate and serious damage. Look at how quickly the acid burns this chicken leg. Not only would it burn your skin, but it could also damage vital organs and cause death. If you get CSA in your eyes, it could cause permanent damage and blindness. Whenever you work around CSA, you need to protect yourself. Make sure you correctly use the right personal protective equipment or PPE. Your employer should supply you with the necessary equipment to perform your job. When working around CSA, you should wear tightly fitting chemical splash goggles. In addition to eye protection, wear a hard hat with a brim, a long-sleeve shirt, and trousers or coveralls made of acid-resistant material like polyester acrylic, boots with acid-resistant soles, and acid-resistant gauntlet gloves long enough to cover your forearm. In emergencies or when working on higher-risk jobs, such as disconnecting a hose or opening a pipeline for repair, wear a full acid-resistant suit with hood, boots, and gloves. Be sure to wear the pant legs outside the boots to keep acid from getting inside. If you have to go into an area where there are acid fumes, a hood should be supplied along with a self-contained breathing apparatus. Before your shift, take time to inspect your equipment. A small rip in a glove is all it takes to get a burn. Gloves can be tested by submerging them in water to check for pinholes. If you notice a problem with any of your equipment, inform your supervisor and remove it from service. When you're finished using your equipment, always clean off all acid contamination before taking it off. Then return it to the proper storage area so it'll be ready for next time. The best way to prevent or minimize the effects of a CSA exposure is to know what to do before you're in the middle of an emergency. When working around CSA storage tanks, pumps, or piping, assume hydrogen may be present. Any spark or flame could cause an explosion, so never smoke or create sparks or flames anywhere near storage systems. When you're assigned to work in a certain area, learn where the nearest safety shower and eye wash stations are, and test them to make sure they're working properly. Your safety may depend on them. Make sure you know your company's emergency procedures and who to call if there's an exposure. Don't be a lone ranger. It's always safer to work with a coworker nearby in person or via video camera so you can watch each other's backs. If something goes wrong, you may need help getting to a shower or eye wash station. A day may come when somebody needs your help too. If someone is exposed to CSA, fast action and the proper first aid can go a long way toward minimizing burns and saving a life. Anybody exposed to these substances needs to get to an emergency shower immediately. Fast action is essential. If your colleague needs assistance and you're wearing the proper PPE, go ahead and help. You must have on appropriate PPE before helping somebody else. It does no good to have two victims. Exposed workers need to be under the emergency shower at least 15 minutes with their eyes open and their contaminated clothing removed. Forget modesty. The contaminated clothing must be removed to get the acid away from the skin. If your eyes are exposed to CSA, get to the nearest eye wash station. Your lids must be held apart while the eyes are flushed for at least 15 minutes. Don't hesitate to get someone to help you with this. If there is an exposure, make sure somebody contacts your site's emergency number. When all the acid has been washed from the exposed areas with water, the burns can be treated using wet, ice-cold compresses until further medical help is available. Avoid freezing the burned area. Immersing the burn in ice water is also effective if the injury is located on the hands, arms, or other parts where immersion is practical. Make sure you periodically remove the limb to prevent over-chilling. Watch for signs of shock with the exposed person. Inhaling vapors is harmful to the lungs and respiratory tract. Workers exposed to these vapors without the proper breathing equipment should be moved to fresh air immediately. If they're having trouble breathing, keep them warm and comfortable. Find a qualified person to administer oxygen. Symptoms of lung injury can be delayed. If the person has stopped breathing, administer CPR. It's important to take immediate action and seek medical attention. If you or a colleague is exposed to CSA, remember, every second counts. The proper storage of CSA can go a long way in preventing exposures and leaks. CSA is usually stored in horizontal tanks made of glass-lined steel or stainless steel, depending on quality requirements. Because it's highly reactive, it must be stored away from combustible or flammable materials. Self-priming pumps are typically used with lined storage tanks. Submersible pumps may be used with stainless steel tanks. Storage facilities usually have either a containment or diversion dike for any liquid spills, as well as a fume abatement system. This consists of a humidifying tower and a demister together with neutralizing facilities. Whatever system is used, the emphasis must be on proper design and maintenance to prevent spills from happening in the first place. There are several other safety tips you should know about when working around CSA storage tanks, pumps, and piping. Never add water to a CSA storage tank. The heat and violent reaction could overpressurize the tank and cause it to erupt. This could injure nearby workers and severely pollute the environment. Though it's safe to assume that hydrogen may be present anytime acid is stored in steel tanks or pipelines, you can know for sure by testing with the proper equipment. If you have to do maintenance work on a storage tank near an open vapor space and the meter shows that hydrogen is present, make sure to use non-sparking tools. Sometimes it's necessary to weld on or near a steel storage tank. Never attempt this without the proper training, permits, and tests for explosive, combustible, or flammable substances in an area around storage tanks. People have been killed because they didn't follow their company's safety guidelines and take all the proper precautions. The Nexpera product literature is a good guideline because it goes into detail on how to prepare storage tanks or pipelines so they can be maintained safely. Over a period of years, CSA tanks may build up a deposit of iron sulfate sludge, which can cause pumping or blockage problems. The tank will have to be cleaned, then inspected. This is a difficult job with significant safety and environmental considerations. If you haven't done a job like this before, the Nexpera product literature and Nexpera product specialists are great resources. Storage and handling facilities must be maintained to prevent leaks and spills. However, even with the best efforts, they may still happen. All pipe flanges, tank manways, and pump packing glands should be regularly checked for signs of leakage. Even small leaks can be significant sources of pollution and are extremely corrosive to the outside of the environment. For instance, very small leaks will show up as greenish-yellow stains or solids at joints, flanges, or valves. If you spot a buildup of iron sulfate solids at these points, rope off or barricade the area right away. Arrange to have the leak stopped, the equipment repaired, and any leaked acid quickly diluted and neutralized. It's important to prevent small leaks from developing into a big problem. CSA spills can quickly become dangerous situations if they're not handled correctly. Even a small spill will give off large quantities of dense white fumes, making it difficult to see the cause and take corrective action. When fumes are present, be sure to wear a full acid suit with a self-contained breathing apparatus. Stay upwind a safe distance while treating the spill. You may also need to evacuate downwind areas depending on the size of the release. Dikes around a storage tank will normally contain any spill. You can also divert the spill to a containment area away from the tank so it can be repaired. If a leak occurs outside a dike area, keep the acid from getting into waterways. CSA would react violently with water and cause excessive fuming and sewer damage. Use dry sand or dry non-combustible absorbent materials for small spills. On larger spills, use mid-expansion foam or water fog to mitigate a release until the spill is diluted and neutralized. Dilute the spill with water to a concentration less than 15%. Avoid a solid stream of water because this will cause violent eruptions and spattering. Neutralize the diluted acid with alkali, such as soda ash, sodium bicarbonate, or lime. The neutralized waste can then be safely removed and disposed of as permitted by local, state, and federal regulations. Make sure your hoses, fog nozzles, foam makers, and other equipment are available and in good working order for ready use when needed. The procedures for handling spills should be part of your plant's emergency control plan and should take into account the possibility of acid fumes and mist affecting the community around your plant. Sites using CSA should have the capability of predicting the path of fume clouds and assessing hazardous chemical fume releases. Bulk shipments of CSA can be unloaded from tank trucks and rail cars with either pump or pressure systems. Self-priming pumps are very effective for offloading tank trucks or rail cars. That's why Nexpera recommends pump unloading and uses this method whenever practical at all consuming sites within Nexpera. With pump unloading, you can stop a leak in a hurry by simply turning off the pump. Though you don't have the risk of overpressuring the tank truck, you have to make sure the truck's vent is open. This keeps the pump's powerful suction from collapsing the truck's tank. The vent can be connected to the storage tank's fume abatement system to contain any fumes that may be given off during unloading. Pressure unloading can also be done safely with pressurized systems. You'll have to rapidly close off the liquid line using a quick close valve. It's best if the valve is remotely operated. You must then vent off pressure to a fume abatement system. Use only dry compressed air or nitrogen and the lowest amount of pressure necessary for unloading. Make sure the padding pressure doesn't approach the shipping container's relief device setting. Always follow all the safeguards recommended by Nexpera. These safeguards call for a pressure regulator set at less than 30 pounds pressure and a pressure relief valve in case the regulator fails. An emergency shutoff valve on the pressure supply is required and also a means for quickly releasing the pressure if there's a leak. Nexpera makes sure its products are delivered by highly qualified drivers in well-maintained and up-to-date transportation equipment. When CSA is delivered by truck, the receiving site unloading operators must be fully trained to connect hoses and unload the acid into a storage tank. Make sure you protect yourself with a PPE required by your plant. A standby person must be on hand to meet the driver. This person is always available to help if there's an emergency. If it's your job to accept the delivery, you are responsible for verifying that the delivery is exactly what was ordered. Make sure the tank has enough room for the load. You must also double-check the positions of all valves and make sure the tank vent is open and that the fume abatement system is operating. Make sure you know the right connections to use so that the load goes to the proper tank. Place warning signs around the trailer, then make the necessary connections. CSA trucks are usually equipped with their own air compressors. These are to assist in priming the pump or for pressure unloading if a pump is not used or is out of service. If you use your own compressor, make sure it has all the safeguards Nexpera recommends. Blow the airline out to get rid of any oil, moisture, or debris that could contaminate the acid. Whether you use pumps or pressure, it's important to periodically monitor the level of CSA in the storage tank during unloading to make sure it doesn't overfill. When the CSA is finally unloaded, the process is still not complete. If a pump was used and the delivery truck is empty, the line and hose are either drained or blown back to the tank truck to avoid a wet disconnect. The unloading lines should be blown clear or completely drained. You must walk the hose, lifting it to confirm it's empty, then shut off the air. If air pressure was used and the truck is empty, carefully vent the pressurized gas through the storage tank's fume abatement system. Finally, the hose is disconnected and the truck connections are properly closed for transport. The process of unloading CSA from a tank truck has been safely completed. Unloading acid from a rail car is similar to unloading from a tank truck. Just like the tank trucks, CSA rail cars can be unloaded by either pump or pressure, and the same safeguards apply. Dome fitting arrangements may vary on rail cars. If you're not familiar with a particular tank car and it's not illustrated in the Nexpera product literature, call Nexpera customer service for more information. Follow your company's written procedures and document your actions with a checklist. Unloading a rail car might take more than one work shift, and your checklist will let workers on other shifts know what actions have been taken. When unloading a rail car, wear a full acid suit. A standby person wearing the proper PPE must be available to help if there's an emergency. When the rail car arrives, check the car number to make sure it matches the one on the shipping papers. Inspect the car for any physical damage. Though Nexpera checks the cars carefully before each shipment, damage sometimes occurs on the way. If you spot any evidence or damage of tampering, report it to the Nexpera Customer Service Center and get directions on what to do. Set the brakes and chock the wheels. Before unloading, standard derailleurs and blue warning flags are put up to warn train crews and protect the track while the car is being unloaded. Make sure you're connecting to the right tank, the vent is open, and the fume abatement system is working properly. Make sure the storage tank has enough room for the load and that the acid will be unloaded into the proper tank. Double-check the positions of all valves and make sure the tank vent is open and the fume abatement system is operating. Connect the vent line to the storage tank vent system before connecting the product unloading line. Vent any excess pressure. Then make the product unloading connection, either using solid piping or hoses. If you use hoses, make sure they're made specifically for CSA. Before each use, inspect them for damage. Never use a damaged hose. They must be periodically tested for leaks and properly stored between each use. When you're sure everything is in order and all safety precautions have been taken, cautiously open all the product valves checking for leaks, and then unload the acid into the storage tank. During the entire process, monitor the temperature, pressure, and the fume abatement system operation. Double-check everything for possible leaks. It's important to periodically monitor the level of CSA in the storage tank during unloading to make sure it doesn't overfill. When a pump is used for unloading and the car empty, the line and hose are drained or blown out to avoid a wet disconnect. If pressure was used and unloading is finished, the pressure on the car is vented through the storage tank before the lines are disconnected. Venting must be controlled so it doesn't overload the fume abatement system. This is very important since it is always possible that some acid could be trapped under pressure. When you're sure that the hose is empty and the air is shut off and no pressure is on the car, you may disconnect. Next, replace the gaskets and close all car openings, making sure to replace any fittings or caps that have been removed during unloading. Wash down and neutralize any minor drips. Finally, the unloading procedure has been safely completed and the car is now ready to return to Nexpera. If you have any questions on these procedures, check your plant's operating instructions, the Nexpera product literature, the safety data sheet, or ask your supervisor. Nexpera is known for quality products and is committed to your safety while handling them. Now that you know the importance of following all the safety guidelines for working around CSA, it's up to you to follow them. Safety is about being constantly aware of what's going on around you and staying focused on every detail of the job you've been trained to perform. Don't get distracted. Handling CSA needs your full attention. By following the right procedures and staying aware, you can keep your workplace productive and safe.